Let's have a look at it on board with Lando, and you can see what I mean in a little more detail. So once again, pre-start revs look relatively okay, and he drops the clutch. This time, doesn't feed on the gas too quickly as he did in Zandvoort, and he's able to get the traction, get to the inside, and cover off Piastri, who has a good look in his mirror on the left. He's done the big part of the job. Now, you're not going to be passed around the outside of this corner. You really shouldn't be. You've just got to hold the line, hold the brakes of the driver on the outside, and that's what Lando does. It does mean he's slightly more compromised into this corner than he would like. The conventional racing line would have you sweep in from a slightly wider angle than the shallow angle here that Lando's got. So he's got to just hold back, make sure he doesn't lose the exit. But that's what is about to happen here. So as he tries to go for throttle, gets a big swapper there, and he's got major opposite lock-on. So he has to just back out of the throttle for a second and then reapply. It's the second time in 2 weeks that actually an overeager throttle application is going to hurt Lando here, but it shouldn't be the deciding factor still in the race. It's a mistake. It puts him more on the back foot. He makes a couple of switch changes still heading up to the second chicane. I think he still thinks that he's got this under control. Has to cover the inside because Oscar is now coming along the outside. But from this position, Lando should have the place. However, he brakes early, gives Oscar a big chance to go around the outside. And from this position now, it's almost out of his hands because Oscar's done a great job on the brakes. What Lando has to do to keep the position is roll off the brakes and match his teammate on the brakes, on the entry into the first corner to stop Piastri turning in. But he doesn't do that. He holds the brakes and holds the inside line, and it just gives Piastri a nice chance to turn in, gives him space at the apex. It's tough. It's really tough between teammates at the start, but it's a brilliant move, this, from Piastri, and it is fair. He's left enough space at the apex. Lando's got the car under control, and from this point, there is absolutely nothing that Norris can do now to stop this pass being made by Piastri, so long as Oscar can make it through that second chicane, which he does. He has to do more on the entry part of it. And so here, gets a big snap of oversteer, avoids his teammate, but it's a lovely, clean, beautiful move from Piastri. And to make it worse, Norris has a compromise run out of the corner, and the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc is in between them. So it's a really costly one for Lando. We can see it again on board with Oscar. The lights go out, and it's an okay getaway from Piastri, but he's not about to take the race lead down to the first corner. And from this position, again, there's really nothing that Oscar should be able to do from the outside here because Lando's just got to match his teammate and make sure he can't come on the outside. And that's what happens. They're both slightly compromised, but there's the big kick of oversteer for Norris on the exit. And now you've got Oscar now in the wheel tracks with the slipstream, trying to make something of an attack into the second chicane. Lando does the right thing here, just covers him off, and there should be no chance of a move for Piastri from this position. Norris has to keep the lead from here, but he's soft on the brakes, and that is what opens the door for Piastri to put in the beautiful move that he does. If Norris matches him on the brakes, they can both shoot through there if they need to. There's no need to have a crash at this stage because there's runoff. We saw it with the Ferraris last year in Monza in their fierce fight as well. But Norris is soft on the brakes, gives Piastri the chance to turn in, giving the space on the inside. And it is just an exquisite move from Oscar around the outside, full commitment. He knows what he wants to do coming into the race. He won in Budapest by making the place on Norris at the start. No team orders were in place at this point between the two McLarens. So Piastri made light work of it. And as we see on board with Charles Leclerc, he has the best view of the action as well. Now, McLaren have to keep a 1-2 position from here, heading into the second chicane. They've got a margin back to the lead Ferrari, but in fighting each other, they compromise. There you see the big slide from Lando, can't turn into the second apex, and is well placed from Charles Leclerc to pick it up and get himself into the victory fight, albeit there's a long way to go in the Grand Prix. So, first question of the day, what are the papaya rules? Now, this was a term that we heard through the race. Lando, you can fight Oscar, but it's papaya rules and vice versa. Oscar to fight Lando, papaya rules. And it seems that papaya rules are basically don't crash with your teammate. It's basically the old classic. I think what his move was within their so-called papaya rules. I think it's aggressive, but it's clean. There was no contact. He gave the space to Lando. And I think Lando can blame himself a little bit at the second chicane for braking early and allowing Oscar to come around the outside in a move that really shouldn't have been possible. However, there's a bigger question here, and that is, should papaya rules even be a thing for McLaren? Should they have allowed Piastri to go racing with Norris, or should they have employed team orders from the start of the race? And that's a bigger question for them. And it's something that really comes down to whether they think Norris can win the championship. If McLaren think Norris can win the championship, surely they have to put everything behind him to try and win. And especially on a weekend where Verstappen is out of the top 5, starting 7th, there was a 19-point swing available for Norris as they sat on the grid. That whittled down to just 8 points at the flag. And that move at the start from Piastri was a big factor behind it. Had Norris kept the lead, it's quite likely he would go on to win with the pace that he's had. Piastri took the lead, cost Norris the place of Charles Leclerc as well. And that was severely compromising, obviously, for Lando's race.
And we heard papaya rules come up on the radio. Can you just clarify what exactly that means in a race?
Race each other respectfully and give each other enough room and don't touch each other. And that's exactly what they did.
Now, of course, it's difficult employing team orders. And in some ways, you say, well done to McLaren for allowing their drivers to fight. And it gave us a great race. It gave us a great move for the highlights reel from Oscar Piastri. But in reality, they have to do everything to try and win this Drivers' Championship if they're going to do it. 70 points Verstappen leads with not that many races to go. It's now 62 points with 8 to go. This was a chance for McLaren to take double figures out of Verstappen. And when you consider Norris has only been out-qualified by Piastri 3 times this year. It's 13-3 in qualifying to Norris. He's not been out-qualified by Piastri since Monaco a long time ago. And in fact, Oscar's only beaten him 4 times in 15 races before this one as well. Whilst they are quite close and Oscar's doing a great job, it is still very clear that Lando is the favoured driver within the team. He's the stronger driver, and that's why he's in championship contention. The problem is he has a weakness of starts, and we've seen it now time and time again. Barcelona, Budapest, Spa, and Budapest and Spa, 2 of the 4 races that Piastri beat him. And that's where McLaren have a chance with the front row lockout to try and protect one of Norris's weaknesses and leave him in the lead of the race if he could get down to turn 1 ahead, which he did. But they didn't do that. I think papaya rules were followed. I think Piastri's move was brilliant. But should McLaren have probably orchestrated things a little bit better? I think they should, and I think they could have done. And they've squandered some points for Norris's championship challenge.
I can't be happy with a third, can I, starting from pole? So, yeah, pretty crappy day from my side. But I still drove the best I could, obviously just some bits not good enough. I mean, I'm trying to make up for just being not good enough in other parts of the racing, trying to get fastest lap and stuff like that. 1 point's great, but being second or first is a lot easier to get points. So, yeah, some things to clearly work on.
And not just at the start, but the end of the race as well. McLaren not swapping the positions of Piastri and Norris doesn't make a lot of sense. When Norris can win the title, Piastri will not be champion in 2024. He's just too far back at the moment, and Norris is the more formed driver. It had to be sensible for McLaren to switch those 2 places. OK, Oscar might be slightly miffed to move from a second to third, but it's not like he's even giving up a Grand Prix win at that stage, and you're helping Lando to take 3 more points into the lead of Max Verstappen. But McLaren doing strange things in Monza tactically and giving up the chance to maximise their point score with Lando, not only at the start, but also at the end. And they may live to regret that, because I don't think Red Bull are going to struggle like they did in Monza at all of the remaining races. They might not have better chances than they had then.
I thought it would be tough, but I thought it would be possible. With the pace I had at the start, I think I was catching nearly 2 seconds a lap. Had a few people that weren't very helpful. Stroll was driving like he was in his first go-kart race. So that cost a couple of seconds, and just a bit painful. But I think we pretty much needed everything to go right in that last set of hards, and just ultimately wasn't quite enough.